Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. This is our 12th episode, boys. Introduce yourselves, please.
Hello, my name is Craig.
I'm unfortunately Daniel.
You can say that again. And I'm Colin, and in this episode, last episode we actually talked about the original Karate Kid trilogy, and this episode we have the fortune of talking about the first two seasons of the acclaimed Emmy-nominated show Cobra Kai.
It was actually nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah, I think season 3 was. I don't know how, but it was.
Interesting, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, what you guys? How do you like the show so far? Seasons 1 and 2. How do you like it? Any feelings?
I mean, I watched it last between the three of us. When you told me to watch like a reboot of The Karate Kid, I thought it was a horrible idea. It's like, well, who would want to watch a reboot of The Karate Kid? But honestly, it's actually good. That's and not even like in like a surprising way. Like it's just actually entertaining on its own. Like not even like just surprising me. Like you had such low expectations. Like both season one and two. I like season one probably a bit more, but we could get into that more later.
But definitely the best thing that works in the show's favor is that the people, like, what's going on, the whole premise is entirely dumb. It's just nonsense. But the characters themselves treat it seriously. So you can kind of get invested in that. Like, yeah, it's dumb, but because they treat it so seriously, it makes you care even more. When Johnny's a bum and he's trying to restart his career, and there's always the feuding with the different dojos. That's
It's
what works
essentially like
best in its favor.
it's essentially like a teen karate soap opera,
Yeah,
if
Yeah,
there's a genre.
yeah. Like at first, I was like you, Craig. I was kind of skeptical on it. I was like, "Oh God, like it's another. They're revamping these old shows." And then I started watching it, and it's like the perfect blend of like that '80s, ridiculousness and like nostalgic, factor on it. But like you're saying, Colin, like the characters like play it so well into like the ridiculous circumstances where it's so ridiculous, but it's so great because I feel like the show just kind of plays into like it knows it's at the premise is ridiculous, but the characters don't, so they just play it out perfectly.
yeah. It's such a weird blend of just nonsensical situations and like nostalgia. Because if you look on paper where there is this feud that happened that's still going on 34 years later, you're like, wow, these guys are losers. But you know, because of the characters themselves, it's just
It's
such a nice
compelling, right?
blend. Yeah, it's the comedy also. I think we should talk about it. It definitely lands. It's not like, let's say, The Last Jedi, where an Endgame where there's constant jokes that just fall flat on that stupid face. The comedy in the show works pretty well, and that's actually surprising because most comedy in most mediums today doesn't really work.
Well, I think it works for several reasons. Because one, it's not trying to be a comedy; it's trying to be more like again, like a karate drama soap opera. So it's trying to tell a story first, and like you got some jokes in there, and that's where they land. It's not the main focus, and it's usually for like the characters, from their viewpoint. It's not like they were trying to set up for a joke either. Like there's that awkward pause, waiting for like, the audience to laugh.
Oh God.
Like it's an organic joke.
It's like in some of those recent Marvel movies where there's just an awkward pause and the characters look around.
Like they're always like quipping. Like there's not really any of that here. It's like a lot of the jokes. I mean, I guess if we get into it more, but like Johnny not understanding technology, or like he's literally like stuck in the
He's a
80s so badly.
caveman, pretty much.
Yeah, a caveman from the 80s.
Yeah. Well, that too. It's like, especially with Johnny, like him being like you said, like he's stuck in the '80s, like he doesn't understand new terminology or stuff like especially like we'll get to the later seasons, but like where he comes in clash with like the woke culture, or like new terms and stuff. And the thing is he's not intentionally trying to make a joke. He just has no idea what they're talking about, but it just works perfectly. It's a nice contrast.
Or what was like I guess in the first season, like what was it? Hawk said, "Oh, I might be on the autism spectrum, or I might be on the spectrum." It's like whatever that is, please get off it. Like he just again, it's just his ignorance and
Yeah,
being stuck in
he's
the 80s.
straight out of the '80s, and that how do I say that atmosphere and setting of the '80s. He hasn't evolved at all. Yeah, like we said, he's a caveman from the '80s.
Because like
Yeah, you go, you go.
I was gonna say, like looking back, like for the review, I was like, just even the way Johnny talks, it's again, it's like right from the 80s, like, yeah, I'm into babes, man, the cool cars, like something like you would think like you'd hear from an 80s movie. Like he still says babes. Like I don't think people say babes anymore, but he still does.
Yeah, man, I just put on a jacket and the babes come crawling to me.
He's also drinking like
Course.
the course he's drinking is like from the '80s too. Like he won't get like the updated beer bottles.
Well, I guess that could segue. Oh, unless that Craig guy wants to add anything.
No, we need to move on because we were probably get more into detail about like Johnny and all the other
I was gonna
stuff.
say we could talk about the plot synopsis of season one. Go through that. First things first. This thing was on YouTube Red. The first, I believe, 2 seasons. I know season one was on this dying platform that no one really cared about, YouTube Red. And I actually saw the first episode when it came out because it was for free. Of course, I wasn't gonna pay for this.
Of course not.
So, yeah. So, Craig, do you want to summarize some of season one for us?
Yeah, just real quick, I wanted to mention, like you said, it was on YouTube Red. That's probably another reason why I didn't want to watch it at first, because if you saw it was on YouTube Red, like it was all that stuff was horrendous.
Oh yeah, it was
So I was like, oh god, a
hard
YouTube
on the
Red show? No,
eyes.
thank you. But I guess to summarize season one, I mean, it's essentially like it's a retelling of the original Karate Kid, but taking more of its time, introducing more characters, fleshing them out more. Like you get to see, how Johnny and Daniel have been doing since their epic fight in the first Karate Kid. Like things didn't work out for Johnny, but you get to see like again him kind of take the role of Daniel as well, and Miguel take Daniel's role, and they develop that relationship that like Mr. Miyagi and Daniel had. And even like Daniel's son, he does the same thing too. He takes Robbie under his wing. You get to see again like a good retreading of the first one, but not like in a bad way. Like it's done respectfully and well.
I think a big
That makes sense.
takeaway from season one is the impact of losing a high school karate tournament can have on one man's life and impact another life. Apparently, that's life altering. Doing high school karate tournaments where Johnny, when he starts off, he's a loser, and it's a little funny like thinking about it. But when you're at least the first couple episodes, when you're watching it, you're like, this is just sad. The way his life spiraled out of control because of losing that tournament to Daniel and how successful he is.
That again, the
Yeah.
is right. It's kind of funny and sad because like I do get kind of like a kick out of it, not to see him suffer, but it's like this high school karate tournament basically ruined his life.
and and how successful Daniel is. He has a new. He starts off. He has a successful dealership, and his motto is kicking the competition. And after every sale they make, he gives them a bonsai tree. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like Johnny, like he gets fired from that one job. He goes like a rundown convenience store and buys like a cold piece of pizza. Like,
And the guy
just
uses his bare hands to grab it and give it to him. And Johnny assaults some children in the first episode.
And he actually does go to jail.
Yeah, he does. There's some consequences in this series for battering children.
yeah.
But in episode one, we're introduced to Miguel, who is kind of like he parallels Daniel from the first Karate Kid, where he's new and fully seem to give him a hard time. So that goes back to what you said, Craig, earlier about the connection. And
Yeah, again, like it's a very
yeah,
similar. Not in a bad way. I want to
No, no,
preface.
not in a bad way. And Johnny, of course, he takes Miguel under his wing and he slowly builds up Cobra Kai. You know, but the thing that I like about Johnny is that he has the right intentions. At least early on with Cobra Kai and whatnot.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, he's not trying to redo he's not trying to make Miguel into like a child soldier, make him evil. It's just, build up his confidence. He loves doing karate. That he wants to help teach people. Not a bad guy. Just
yeah. But he obviously struggles too with like how Kreese like ran things, so he's trying to walk that fine line. He's almost like a perfect like anti-hero because he's like rough around the edges. He's like ignorant towards like newer language and stuff, and like kind of at times can give him like tough love, but he does, like you're saying, like he grows to build like to take him under his wing.
Yeah, and you know, with season one, it also introduces a lot more other characters, like Johnny's son, um, and how his relationship with his dad is, and anyone else want to add anything?
well, you also get like his son Robbie. You get Daniel's children, mainly just Sam. Then you get like Miguel's friends that he makes in school.
Yeah, Hawk and Eli,
So,
or no, Eli is Hawk.
Dimitri,
Yeah, Dimitri.
Dimitri.
yeah, you're getting like a nice set of characters for this season one. Not introducing too many characters. I mean, it's a TV show, so you can, but like it's still, it's more characters to have this time instead of just Daniel, Mr. Miyagi, and Kreese really, and Johnny. That's in the movie.
And I
Yeah,
guess there's obviously some drama that goes on in the season one, like what is it? Daniel's cousin, he sets Johnny's. It was his car on fire, right?
oh Louis.
Yeah, Louis he sets his car on fire.
Well, 'cause we need to like I guess backtrack. Like, it's like when they open up the dojo, Daniel doesn't like that, so they try to like just to shut down Cobra Kai because he's getting like PTSD from the first and third Karate Kid movie.
It's
The Cobra
entirely
Kai cannot exist in the
Yeah,
valley.
it's entirely petty on Danielson's part because Johnny's just trying to make an honest living. He got fired from his job. He just wants to teach karate to kids because he feels like he did that in high school. That's what he knows.
Yeah,
Like
I do. I was gonna say that's one of my favorite moments is when Daniel he looks and sees it opened up. His face like he just watched Miyagi get up out of the grave and start walking. He was like so terrified. We just seen a ghost.
Yeah, it's like a Vietnam vet thinking about the past. Like it was. It's like chill out, man. Like it was a karate tournament.
Or two, like to touch on um the scene where Johnny like comes into the dealership, but and then Louis was like, "Oh, do you want him to like kick your ass like he did 30 years ago?" Like they were still reminiscing like this was like they were like he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they're they're,
like
they're both in their 50s.
yeah, and they're talking about a karate tournament over 30 years ago when they were in high school that apparently everybody in this small town still remembers and talks about.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I feel like that's again, it's funny, but I feel like that's almost part of the charm of it too, where they're taking these karate tournaments so seriously.
Yeah, like I said, it's life altering winning these karate tournaments. If you win one, I guess you'll own a successful dealership in the valley. If you lose one, you'll be an alcoholic stuck in this, bad cycle for 30 years.
And have like be estranged from your own son, not be at his birth,
Yeah, just be a scumbag,
divorced.
pretty much. Yeah.
You can be there for your child if you don't get crane kicked in the face and lose a tournament.
So before we move on to season two, let's talk about the end of season one. So, who wants to elaborate on that? Any takers? No.
the,
Okay.
like the most pivotal moment in the series.
Well, yes.
When
You got it. You wanna?
yeah. So do you want me to give like a bit of background, like
Yeah,
what
of
led up
course,
to
of
that?
course, because it all leads up to this one moment.
Yeah. So Yeah, so the ending of season one, they basically re-emulate or they emulate the ending of the original Karate Kid, where Miguel wins the tournament. He's his only student, so um, but something happened with Miguel and Johnny, so Miguel kind of runs, leaves, and Johnny's back in his dojo drinking as usual, and he hears a bell, and he thinks it's Miguel showed up, and lo and behold, it's our famous sensei, John Kreese, shows up, and he's standing in the dark smoking a cigar, monologuing about how Cobra Kai's back, and then it just cuts.
Yeah, was he like watching from the top of the bleachers?
Like, how would he even find out? But I love like the mod, like, well, that's why I say it's like a soap opera. Like, all these characters. I mean, we see it throughout the entire season where like characters are always like in the right spot, the right time to like get mad at each other, have a misunderstanding, or, or just to talk, have like a crucial like dialogue moment.
You know
It's like
what? It,
not a small area.
it honestly feels like, yeah, like you said, the soap opera, like Star Wars Episode 3, when these people are talking, and then there's just this dramatic music playing in the background. Like, what they're talking about is life or death. It's like, you better join my dojo. If you don't, your life will be horrible.
That's the other thing too. Is like Kreese, like he's like Cobra Kai's backwards should be on top. I was like, you're not running like an empire. Like it was,
In a
it was a
company,
dojo in the small town in Cali. Like it was shut down for 30 years. Like, were you really waiting this whole time until it came back on top magically?
why didn't you
Well,
try to revive it?
wasn't his quote like people thought they closed the book on us, but the story's far from over. Like it was something to that where like so dramatic.
You even
And,
got
and you can't.
the way he said it right too. You emulated that perfectly.
Well, I admit I was practicing.
And we also also too, like you're saying with the music and these like soap opera esque kind of scenes, like when Kreese shows up, they give him like this like western old western music, like he was a bad guy showing up into town. Like it
It's
was
like
so
Red Dead
dramatic.
Redemption.
Yeah. I feel like if Kreese showed up, no one, everyone would be like, "Oh, who's this crazy old guy?" Like no one would remember him.
Should we move on to season two? Does anyone have anything else to add? Because then we'll come back and talk about the characters too. You know,
Yeah,
there's a lot of characters to talk about.
Yeah,
especially
some good, some
Craig's
bad.
favorite Dimitri.
Oh, yeah, I don't. He's not my favorite. I mean, he does get better, but especially in these first two seasons, I think he's awful. But get more into that later.
I think season two completely takes season one and it just amplifies it entirely. Season two just goes nuts. And anyone who wants to, Craig, do you want to talk about season two?
I was gonna say season two is like where it stops being like an homage to the first Karate Kid, and this is more like Karate Wars or Dojo Wars, because this is where they really push the my dojo, my philosophy first, that dojo and that philosophy, and like
They
all the kids are caught in the crossfire for this karate war,
they treat it like they're rival gangs.
essentially.
Like, oh, if I see you walking to school alone, I'm gonna beat you up with my karate skills.
Yeah, and they have to basically have like protection at all times. Like you wear certain clothing. It's like because you're part of that gang.
They walk in packs, pretty much.
You try to pick on the weak when they're alone and vulnerable.
Yeah, and season two adds a lot of more characters into it.
Yeah, because I mean, like one of the characters they had Tori, because Tori is every character has to have like a rival. Daniel and Johnny, Robbie, Miguel, and then I guess Sam. We didn't talk much about her, but her rival is now Tori,
Oh,
another
we'll
girl.
talk about Sam a lot and the characters once we get to that.
Yeah, because like every season has to introduce yeah, every season so far has introduced like a decent amount of characters, but uh,
Stingray.
he's the goat character.
Yeah. But yeah, like that's where you like in season two, like then Daniel starts up Miyagi Do. So now you like you're saying you have the dojo wars, so that just escalates it.
And it's all building up to this one, this climax at the end of season 2 with the giant high school karate fight.
See, I feel like we have to talk about the characters because
All right, let's
you
get
see all the
into it then.
drama.
Let's get into
Because
the
just the way
characters.
that it started, I think was just so ridiculous.
I think before we get into the characters, every single problem in Cobra Kai that these characters have can be solved with a conversation. Every single
Or the cops.
or yeah, especially the cops. But if they just rationally talk about what happened, then none of the fighting and no one getting paralyzed would happen. You're like, dude,
Yeah.
chill out. Let's just talk.
Yeah,
Well,
like
that's why
there
it's
were
like a soap opera.
yeah, there were plenty of times if Daniel and Johnny actually just sat down and elaborated both sides, like both their stories, they probably could have easily came to a middle ground. But it would be like one would say something or just like blame,
They're like children.
blindly accuse the other, and then the other would get mad and storm off, rather than just actually talk and be like, "Oh, okay, all right, that happened." Like, "Oh, I didn't do that." Like, "Oh, okay." Instead, it would be like you're saying, it's a soap opera. Like they would turn, look at the camera, and like walk away all angrily.
It was like all of them, like even season 1, when Sam and their friends had the party and Robbie was there and Miguel thought they were dating, and then he gets mad.
Well, he was a little tipsy.
Yes, but but the point is like, they don't talk. It's just like they run into a scene, they see something going on, and they make like
Yeah,
these accusations and assumptions, and then they storm off.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, they walk in at the right time just so they can see something that is like not what it is. Oh no, you tripped and you have your arm around her. You cretin! How dare you?
You're cheating on me.
How dare you?
And it's not like this is really a problem. It's more of just something if you don't like that, you're not gonna. The show's not gonna be for you. I don't mind it.
I
That's
think
why
if you're
it's.
watching the show, you have to embrace how silly it is on paper and how the characters are in every situation like that. You just have to embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah, or like too, like when Johnny first builds back up Cobra Kai and Daniel, without even like trying to hear out Johnny, he just immediately like tells him like shut it down because of like the bad memories, and it's like,
I'm just trying to make a living.
like we said, what?
No, Johnny's essentially. I'm just trying to make a living here, man. Come on.
Yeah, but again, it's like you said, Colin, in the last podcast, like the people in this universe just they really know how to hold on to a grudge. Like
Really.
like Daniel just started having the PTSD of like Terry Silver. It's just like you can you guys could just actually talk, and like I'm pretty sure if Johnny was like, hey man, I'm just trying to make a living, but Daniel was like, no, shut it down, like didn't even hear him out, and then goes on and builds his own dojo just to rival him.
Even before that, he raised the rent on Johnny to try to like kick him out
Yeah,
because he
what a
knows
scumbag.
Yeah, he literally invites I forget that character's name to a dinner and trying to like get him to raise the rent
the
to
producer from Borat.
Yeah, the
yeah, trying
landlord.
to get
In
yeah,
the
he's literally trying to screw over Johnny's life just because of a dojo.
Bad enough he ruined his life in the karate tournament. Now he's trying to make sure he can't have a living anymore.
All right, so I guess
Yeah.
this is a nice segue. Let's talk about the characters. Let's talk about Daniel first. Even though it's more about Johnny, let's talk about Daniel first. He knows how to make himself unlikable. I'll say that, just because how petty he is in season 1, especially.
Yeah.
He is so petty.
Well, they introduce him. He wouldn't be unlikable if they didn't introduce him the way he was, because like when him and Johnny first meet, he actually was trying to like be like he was the reasonable one. He was trying to like water under the bridge. We were kids. We went at each other, whatever. And then but once he saw Cobra Kai was back, he just descended like
He descended to
hard.
madness.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's like two sides to Daniel. That's like Daniel-san. There's like the mentor side, which is the better part, but then there's like the ruthless side where he wants to like the one that lives in the past. Like
Yeah.
I like the mentor side where he's like teaching Robbie, how to be like, responsibility, how to, do your job, be a man. Like what Mr. Miyagi was doing for him.
Yeah, he gives him a job in that stuff, but like I feel like Daniel in either every episode or like every other episode, he has like a moment like where he just melts down and loses his cool and does something completely stupid, and then after that, like either Sam or his wife, who's like the voice of reason, um, they like point out like what he did wrong, and then he like goes into like this, then he has a flashback of Miyagi, and he's like, what would Mr. Miyagi do? And then he gets into like that Zen mode. And then the next episode, he just goes right back into it. He's like in a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's a circle. Because every time before he reaches that point of him, you know, foaming from the mouth like a wild animal, they're about to make amends. Especially with every time it happens to Johnny. Like they just had like a nice talk and whatnot. They kind of understand each other. They're almost there of forgiving each other and moving on. And then Daniel does something so stupid, and he just acts like a child. That just goes
Well, it's
full
really
circle
both of
again.
them.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
Daniel usually, instigates it,
Almost like, well, again, it's like I guess it goes both ways because like there are times where Daniel-san reaches out
Oh yeah,
and
and
then
Johnny
Johnny
is
just shuts
stubborn.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're both children. Don't get me wrong. They're both man children. Should we talk about Johnny?
That's the thing. Like again, we're gonna say.
I was gonna say, should we talk about Johnny? But continue.
I was gonna say like I guess that's like the frustrating thing with like Daniel-san. Like he could be like, but again, I guess you have to have like he can't be perfect. Because otherwise, if he was Mr. Miyagi, the perfect one, I guess there wouldn't be much conflict.
That's what I'll say. That they do a good job where everyone is like flawed. Like there's no like one character that you can like. I feel like entirely like none of them are without flaws. They all have their issues and stuff. But
Some more than others.
yeah. Well, that's true. Like there are some
Speaking of
characters
Johnny,
that.
Yeah, right.
But
Sad alcoholic.
yeah, but I like Colin, like to that point, like where you're saying like you grow to like uh, the way season one is, especially you definitely root for Johnny more. Like you grow to like him more. They definitely flipped it. They did do a good job with that.
Well, I don't think you're ever supposed to like Johnny in the original movie. He was just
yeah, like
Mr.
people try to act
Bully.
like, yeah, like to like
Well,
retroactively make him a hero.
I mean, in terms of like the series as like a whole, like you definitely in season one you like Johnny like way more. Like you grow to like him the most.
It's probably because you see how pathetic he is. And you're just like, I feel so bad for him. I mean, his son, which we'll talk about later, his son is estranged.
He's I know we'll get to Robbie, but I've grown to like him like the least. But
Yeah.
we'll get there.
I don't know, what else can we really say about Johnny?
I think your description of the caveman from the 80s is perfect.
Yeah, he's like a. It's like he time traveled. He's trying to adapt to a changing world, and he doesn't know how to.
But it's not like he left. He was always here.
It's like he was frozen.
Yeah, like what did he do in all the time in between?
Well, he said
was with babes.
he was partying through like his 30s or his mid-20s, the 30s. Just like he's a loser, I guess we could talk about Miguel because I think we already talked enough about Johnny.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, him and I guess Miguel, like especially Johnny, like if without him and the way he acted, I don't think the show would really work.
Oh yeah,
Just to give
because
props
Miguel
to
kind of
Johnny.
like also, they're both teaching each other. I think that's what makes
Yeah.
Miguel work so well, because he's trying to make Johnny re-enter this world that he somehow went in limbo with. And then Johnny's obviously teaching him karate. And I guess
And then
maybe
give you,
that's
like-
what Johnny always wanted. He wanted to, not be a how would I say this? I was about to say he wanted to be a father figure, but obviously he didn't want that because of Robbie. But I guess he just wanted to express his.
Well, it's a
karate
second
and
chance.
whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the shot that he messed up the first time, like his whole life.
It's redemption.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Miguel's, again, he's kind of like Daniel-san, but he actually has more to teach Johnny, like you were saying before. Because again, the original Karate Kid was more of a one-way street. Now this is definitely more of a two-way street. Again, integrating Johnny into the real world.
And it seems like Miguel is better at karate, at least looking at him when he fights, than Daniel was in the movies. That's definitely the choreography of it and whatnot.
Well, plus, like Johnny's philosophy is offense, while Mr.
Yeah, it's
Miyagi's
always
was really just
defense.
defense.
But I
As the
think
show.
in the show the fight scenes are kind of bad. It's probably because they're children that they're working with, but I don't know. I just want to throw that out there.
I mean, I think it also like varies between like what character. Like you could definitely tell with the older people. Like when you they definitely have
Oh, definitely not that. I was talking about in season one. I should have talked about this earlier. The cafeteria fight scene was pretty bad.
Yeah, I think that was as the show went on, it got better. But in season, I mean, it was the first season, so I mean, I'll cut it a
I
break.
mean, I would even say the end fight scene in season two was kind of bad.
well, like we said, like the choreography. I wanted to bring up real quick when
Yeah,
Daniel-san did that like kick to the other rival dealer guy. Like that looked that did not look good. You could tell like it's a 50-year-old man trying to kick that.
yeah. Or when Daniel trains with Robbie, who we'll get to later, and he goes out to that creek and whatnot, or in the forest, and he's balancing himself on like three fingers. It's like, oh yeah, that's clearly not a harness holding you up. No way Ralph Macchio can do that. Obviously,
Hey, he's Jersey tough.
that's right. That's right. But yeah, I really like the character Miguel, and I thought at first, you'd probably think he'd be annoying because he's like that puppy with the eyes, but he's like an actual character, and he's always trying to do the best, and he wants to do his sensei right, and I like his relationship with Johnny.
Yeah, the show
Yeah,
definitely would not work without it.
yeah. And I think, and you definitely like do feel bad for him too. Like he does, they did do a good job with that, but I do like you're saying, like you can't. Him and Johnny did work well together. Like I was saying before with Johnny, um, he's a man out of time, but like his ignorance works well with like Miguel's like politeness, because like how he'll like you're saying, like they learn from each other. Like he corrects him on like little things, like, oh, but the way he says, he's like, oh, sensei, I don't think you can say that nowadays. Like, but they work well together.
Or even like that episode, I forget what episode it was, but when they tried to get Cobra Kai unbanned, yeah, he was saying, don't show up in like whatever you're planning on doing. Try to, dress yourself properly, just let them hear your passion, let them hear you out, and they will probably change their mind. And Miguel was right. Again, like the
Yeah,
way they teach each other and try to help each other out.
It's a shame that like Miguel is such a good character, and like we said, he has a good relationship with Johnny, and they work well together. And just Robbie is so bad.
yeah.
I he's
He,
probably him and Sam are probably the two characters I like the least, at least in the first two seasons.
I
You
mean,
know,
Robbie's he's just very like bland, and like I guess the guy, I don't, I mean, I don't really know the actor, but he's just very like stoic, and he has that same like look on his face it doesn't matter the situation, it's just like that same look, and he's just
he
always,
always looks mad. I wouldn't even say he looks stoic. He
yeah.
just looks mad.
I think the
Yeah,
bland is the best description because, like, you could almost feel for him. Like, he's been given like a bad hand, like his father, where his own father's not there, his mother is never there, so he's kind of on his own. So you do feel bad, but like, I guess the acting's not the best, where you don't really feel as bad for him as you should, because you really should feel more bad for him than Miguel.
Yeah, like the fact that it makes you sympathize more with Miguel and Johnny over Robbie, who definitely
yeah,
has it the worst out of all of them. Because yeah, he has two parents that are non-existent in his life, and he's fending on his own. I think what bothers me the most about Robbie is that Johnny is genuinely trying to. He makes attempts to be there, and he wants to be, back in his life, and then he just so coldly brushes him away
yeah.
like a
No, but I
jerk.
can understand too, like, I guess if you get burned enough, you don't want to you get
No, yeah, I
close.
understand that, but just like the way he goes about it, and maybe it's just the way the guy acts too. I don't want to criticize him too much, but
I mean, he was in what was it? He's All That, that
how
remake.
dare you?
I
Don't
mean,
guess
he
his
literally
real
like
name.
he played the same character. He didn't change.
Maybe it's just the actor.
He's like a
Not to pick
statue
on
for the
him.
most part. He just
Yeah,
like
like it didn't matter. It almost like his acting was like the exact same. It just didn't change.
except he had his hair was different.
Yeah, and they gave him like a 5 o'clock shadow, even though he was in high school.
He's still in high school in this show.
I guess the only good thing about Robbie is that he is trying to learn the error of his ways when he goes with Daniel, and that's when we talked about earlier the sensei role in Daniel, where he's like trying to use his inner Miyagi and correct this youth on a bad
This
path.
troubled youth.
Yeah.
Because again, that's where I feel like again there's like potential for Robbie, trying to see the error of his ways, but I
And
don't know, it just doesn't always like it's more. I guess I get more pleasure watching
I think
Daniel
I
be the
think
teacher.
I think at first Robbie was like you could deal with him, but I think as the show went on, he just digressed. Like as other characters like Miguel, Johnny and them, like they actually kept moving. Like their story arc kept progressing. Like his just kind of like his character just became less and less likable. I feel like.
I do feel like he definitely got worse as the seasons went on.
I guess the main reason why I don't like Robbie so much, and I don't like when he rebuffs Johnny, is because I guess as an audience we're so invested in Johnny's story and his character and his motives that when he just gets shot down by so unceremoniously by Robbie, you're just like, come on, man, he's trying. It's like you're backing Johnny, and then when this arrogant little kid is doing this, you just don't like it.
No, I guess and to your point too, we don't really see how Robbie's view of Johnny. Like it's really just Johnny's view. Like we don't see how Robbie was like neglected from his father's like time, like all throughout his youth. It's really just
Yeah, we just see
Johnny's
him like
perspective.
on the streets, doing rebellious teen typical stuff. Yeah, I guess that they could have maybe done a better job, at least to help you care more and understand Robbie's point better if they showed his perspective of how he views Johnny. Because yeah, we see Johnny in such a different light than how Robbie sees him.
Especially considering that they take time to give a good amount of backstory on Johnny. Like his, how he was raised and why he is the way he is, and like I feel like if they gave a little bit more on like Robbie in that way, like not too much, but like enough where you could see like, oh, okay, you could sympathize with him, and then maybe they could bond over that. Like if you knew both their backstories, but they never, like you're saying, they only really give Johnny's side.
And Robbie who was neglected.
Oh yeah, it's like really sad what happened to him, but like
Yeah.
either through not as great writing and just performance, I just don't really care about him. I really don't.
Yeah.
I was kind of happy when he lost at the end of season 1. Even though it's supposed to be this really terrible moment for Johnny. Who does he root for? My student who has always believed in me and always believed in my ability to teach him, or my own son who doesn't like me?
Yeah, especially too, like I guess another thing that works against Robbie, um, like comparing him to Miguel, since they rival each other, and especially like it almost seems like the show's like kind of putting them both in like the son, like the as a son to Johnny, is that like Miguel too has like they eventually elaborate more on his dad, but his dad is non-existent. It's just him and his mom.
And
So like,
and the yaya and the grandma.
oh, that's right. Um, but like, it doesn't help Robbie's case, like where Miguel has a similar background to him. Like they're kind of the same in like how they were raised, but like Miguel is like seems like he actually is like a genuine kid. Like he like has a good heart. He's just trying to do the right thing. He's trying to help his mom and everything. And he does extend the hand out to Johnny, especially at first when Johnny's reluctant to take him on. He's kind of like when he saves him at the outside that convenience store,
By
like
assaulting children.
yes,
And getting arrested.
But at least the show acknowledged like there are consequences to assaulting children.
Well, at least in the first episode. I don't know about the rest
Yeah.
of the show.
Yeah,
Well, that's another issue, but um, But like then Miguel tries to reach back out to him. He tries to help him. Like you see later on, he tries to help him. Get on like dating and stuff. And like Robbie has that bad background, but he just kind of like gives Johnny the culture. Like he doesn't even try to be like, oh, maybe you had a bad background or whatever. I guess it just as you see Miguel and Robbie, they both kind of have a similar background, so it doesn't help that Miguel is kind of like he has the good heart, where Robbie it's kind of like he just gives, like you're saying, he just gives him the cold shoulder and just rebels.
And I guess the point they're trying to do is they're trying to make Robbie and Miguel opposites, where Robbie's the cynical, smug, like
He's been around the block.
I have to fend for myself.
Nobody tells me what to do.
Yeah. I go to bed at 11, not 8, Mom. And then
11:01.
Yeah, school night. And Miguel is just trying to do what's right. He wants to be there for his sensei. He wants to improve on his abilities in karate. Like his heart is in the right place, and that always makes it easier to root for someone who's genuinely trying than Mr. Dower. Oh, my dad's a loser, but I'm totally not a loser, even though I'm doing petty nonsense.
Not even in high school.
Yeah. He's not even enrolled in high school. He just goes around scamming people, pretending to work.
He was pretending to be an employee at an IKEA or like some.
It's like some cell phone shop repair shop.
Yeah, and just pawning it.
Yeah, he has like the T-shirt and everything. Should we talk about Samantha LaRusso?
Yeah, because she's, I guess, what ties those two characters together.
Yeah, she's another one that you just don't like. At least in the first couple seasons, you don't really like her.
Well, I think she gets worse.
I think in the first season she's not that bad, because it's like you look at her, she's like.
Yeah, that's true.
I think like Craig, like you were saying, like her and Robbie have the same trajectory. They just get worse as the show goes on. Like in the first season, they're like like okay, see where their story goes, but they just get worse.
Because I feel like in season 1 with Sam, she was just more like a bystander. She was just like a teenage girl calling it like this love triangle, which, again, not for me, but it's not the most unbearable thing. It's when they start trying to like put her more in the forefront, like we see in season 2, like she wants to be part of the karate war, and it's hard to watch.
And
I'm not really convinced.
Yeah, well, it's not because she wants to do karate. I guess it's her motives, and I don't know. Like, yeah, the love triangle can get a little unbearable sometimes.
I know it's like a soap opera classic, but I guess that's the one thing I don't really care for in the show, is like the love triangle, because it's like between teenagers, and I'm not a teenager. It's not for me.
Yeah, you just cringe more or less when.
Especially when like these like 50-year-old men trying to pretend to like write for teenagers, like how they talk to each other, like when they try to like be lovey-dovey.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Like I understand there's gonna be like some sort of romance, just it's not for me. Like I get it, it's not for me.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Sam start some of the problems?
Yeah, she does start a lot of problems.
She's at the heart of it.
I think it's the reason why I think she's not liked among us, because she's also like an instigator, more so than her father.
Why don't you elaborate, Craig? Why don't you elaborate?
Well, like in season 1, she was falling for Miguel. Their relationship was developing and whatever. But then Robbie lives with them. Then she's like, stuck in the love triangle between Robbie, who's like falling for her, and Miguel. And then at that party towards the end of the season, Miguel thinks they're together, and because wasn't she drunk too?
No, that was
that was season 2, right?
That was season 2.
Yeah. The point is, like, she causes trouble. Like, she puts herself in situations like, just really shouldn't be doing.
Especially in season 2 is the most egregious.
Yeah, season 2 gets worse. Again, like the party where she was drunk, and then I got mixed up. She was kissing Miguel when she was dating Robbie.
No, season 1 she was driving. Her and Robbie were like, they were driving. Miguel was waiting for her at the bonfire.
Yeah.
Yes, and so he got drunk, and he was like, he was getting in his head about it.
She was like ghosting him, kind of.
Yeah. So
but it wasn't
strange man in your house.
Well, no, it wasn't intentional. Why? She got grounded or something.
Yeah, her mom took her phone away.
Was because Robbie faked an injury just to score some points with her, even though she's dating someone.
And well, didn't also Miguel? Didn't he see like? Didn't he go to her house before the party to see like why she, And then he saw like Robbie eating with the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, like why is this strange man in your house?
Yeah. So it was because she got grounded and the mom took away her phone, so she couldn't talk to Miguel. And
And
then
she wasn't helping too, but like not explaining anything. He's like, why aren't you seeing me? What's going on? And she's like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
Like
these people
Yeah.
aren't
adding
good with
fuel to the fire
yeah,
to
they're
his
not good with
paranoia.
communication skills. As good as they are with karate, just talking to one another and just being rational people is just not their forte.
That's the real challenge.
Yeah, right. And yeah, as we talked about earlier, but she instigated also at the end of season 2 when she kisses Miguel right in front of Tori, which we'll talk about next.
Yes, because Tori was dating Miguel.
Yeah, and she was dating Robbie.
All this conflict.
And then with going back to Robbie, the Cobra Kai invades. Miyagi-Do trashes it. And they take Miyagi's Medal of Honor, right? Was it a Medal of Honor? Or like some really decorated World War II award.
Yeah, no, it was his Medal of Honor.
Yeah, Miguel returns it, and then Robbie takes it, and then just doesn't, and pretends not to find it like a scumbag. And he lies to her. It's just, those two are just, God.
Like that just for Daniel's son. Like I can understand why he would get mad. Like you see your dojo trashed. I mean, I know Johnny had nothing to do with it, but I can understand why he'd be
if they
upset
just
with that.
talk with each other, he's like, I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, or like earlier in season 1 when Louis bounds up this like random ragtag group of bikers and they just trash Johnny's car and like set it on fire.
And the worst part too is he's like, Daniel LaRusso sends his regards. Like, why would you even say his name?
And then like Johnny just shows up, but instead of like Daniel's like, listen, man, I really didn't have anything to do. It's like they can't ever just like hear each other out. It's like, no, you did this, now I'm going to retaliate.
It almost seemed like Daniel didn't even deny it. He just kind of accepted it.
Yeah, like I was like, first off, that's like that's an offense. Like, yeah, you can go to jail for that. Like, I would if Johnny came up to Daniel, wouldn't Daniel want to clear his name about it?
Like that was probably like one of my least favorite moments in the first season, just because like it was so ridiculous, and I felt like it almost took you out. Like, because season 1 was like, again, it's like the original Karate Kid, like pretty realistic. It's like take place in the real world. Then we have almost like an intimidation attempt, like blowing up someone's car. It's like a little too extreme at this point in the show.
I mean, they just,
in my opinion,
they just don't care anymore as the seasons went on.
Oh yeah, I mean it's gradually gotten maybe a little more ridiculous. It's still realistic enough, but like, I'm saying like it's still like it feels like it could take place in the real world as opposed to like blowing up someone's car. Send us Dino LaRusso, send his regards.
That's what Louis eventually called Jersey Justice. It's like, who does that? Who blows up another person's car?
Like, if they were like a mean message, I would get like, oh, you stink or whatever. Cobra Kai's awful. I don't know.
Yeah, or like you do what Johnny did to Daniel when he got mad at him. He was drunk and then he literally spray painted a dick on Daniel's poster, like billboard.
There's a billboard.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's illegal, but it's a little more.
But that's more like childish. That's petty, not blowing up someone's car.
All right, let's talk about Tori next as a character because she's introduced in season 2. And
I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent about her. Like, she's just kind of there. Like she's just more of she's just a rival. Like she's the tough girl who had it hard and she's afraid to receive any help. Yeah, and she continuously she gets annoying too, to a degree as this show goes on. Like her and Sam, she just she can't let this grudge go. That eventually, when Sam kisses Miguel, yeah, I mean you'd be pissed, but it just gets to the point where now you're committing crimes to get back at this girl. They literally was it season 2 or 3 where they chase them into an arcade and then they break Dimitri's arm?
Oh, season
That
3.
was-
Yeah, way to spoil
Oh,
it.
spoilers. We're not there yet. We haven't seen those seasons yet.
Yeah. But I think piggybacking off what you said, I think Tori's done a little bit too much. Like she's a little overdone with
yeah.
how extreme
For
she
tough
is.
girl.
Well, no, not just a tough girl, just her mindset and just she almost honestly feels like a cartoon villain a little bit. Everyone else, they're petty and they're and whatnot, but she just feels a little overdone, and that's saying something when you have people like Kreese running around. Because it's just like she honestly feels like an assassin sometimes. She's just so bottled up with rage, and you understand a little bit why she has to pay the bills in the family. We don't know about the father figure, but she's supporting her sick mother and her. She has a brother, I think.
Yeah. But
Like, you
that's
understand that.
yeah.
You don't have
but
to be a crazy person.
But you would think though with that, like that would give her more motivation to stay out of trouble. It's like she goes out of her way to do this nonsense. Like when you would have to pay bills and take care of your, mom and your brother, like you would think she would want to like avoid trouble.
Yeah, she has so much to lose if she does something stupid.
Also, too, like, why would she even do karate? Like, you have to go to school, you have to study, you have to work. Where do you find time to be in this karate war?
Yeah, really. And obviously, with her, she hits it off with Miguel after the mix-up in season 1 with Miguel and Sam.
Yeah.
And the probably the cringiest part of all of Cobra Kai so far is when they're celebrating. I forget what I think Coyote Creek. After that, they're celebrating, and Miguel's like on the computer,
Oh.
and he's making that little like what is it? It's like a Microsoft Movie Maker or Windows Movie Maker with him and Sam, and it's like that animation with the octopus. Oh God, it's disgusting.
But she was on point. That was the most like cringy, desperate thing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she was on point with that. But I just want to talk about that cringy part.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But like yeah, I just like Tori kind of was like I guess she was fine for the for the sake of to rival Sam and like have that storyline, but like you're saying, Colin, she's just like a cartoon villain. Just like it seems that like they overdid her, and like you're saying, like in a show in a universe where you have people like Kreese running around, Daniel's cousin blowing up cars over stupid nonsense. It says something.
I want to add too, like I feel like part of her problem is the fact she is a rival to Sam, because Sam's already like a bad character. So when you make a rival for somebody, they can only be so good.
She is
Yeah.
better than Sam, though. She's not.
Oh no, I agree with that, but
yeah.
like
No, I do too.
it's just more of like you still feel that like kind of like the indifference to Robbie. Like, yeah, she's you understand like her sympathetic backstory, but also too at the same time you don't care too much. Probably reason because like she acts like a psycho.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's because she's a bad actor. I think that's what they want from her.
Yeah, I think
'Cause,
they want her to be a little like ridiculous.
like the mean psycho tough girl.
Yeah, who's like
Yeah.
really good at karate. And of all things to pick up on, why is she doing karate? Like,
Can you pick up a second job?
yeah, like seriously, why
No.
karate? Kickboxing? Like, why karate? Like,
Like that-
yeah, just
She has the
go
role
work
to
the other
fill.
job. Yeah. Or wait, the one thing I thought was ridiculous, or another cringy scene was the roller rink scene.
oh, in episode 8.
Yeah, they all happen to be there.
Well,
Yeah.
She's working there.
Yeah, but it was just...
And I think you're missing the best part. It's also 80s night at the roller rink.
Surprised Johnny wasn't there.
Yeah, right. Or Terry Silver at some kids club.
But in that scene, didn't like Miguel, like when they were in line, try to like come up and talk to Sam and like be cool about things and like be civil?
Yeah, he tried to make
Robbie.
amends and whatnot. And
Probably the caveman was like, "Don't talk to her."
yeah, really. Should we talk about
Well, I want to say one more thing about Tori because
oh yeah, go for it.
I mean her, I guess, aggressiveness and like insanity causes like the end fight for season 2. Like because she saw Miguel and Sam kiss, she goes to school the next day, which is the first day of the year, and like starts a high school brawl, which
Oh, we're going to talk
leaves
about the
Miguel
fight
paralyzed.
at the end when we're summarizing. 'Cause that's
Okay.
what I was going to touch upon earlier when I said like I thought the fight was done really bad.
That's because like she's the one that instigated. That's why I wanted to bring up like
Oh yeah,
her insanity.
100%. She talked on the school loudspeaker and called her out.
Like I don't understand. Like that's why I feel like again she plays like the role is there, like she's the anti Sam, the rival, but it's just like it's so over the top.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame the actress. I think that's just like they're what they want her to do. That is, and like she's done a phenomenal job. It's just like the character as it's written is just over the top.
Yeah, I guess we should move on a little bit. We're taking a little too long. A lot of characters to get through.
We haven't gotten to Crease yet.
Yeah, so Eli, or also known as Hawk, I think he's a great character. Again, he's another one that is a little over the top because when he gets this Hawk persona, and they really do treat it as like a persona. Like I get it,
Yeah.
it's his confident self, but it's literally like the Hulk and Bruce Banner. When
Yeah.
he's Hawk, he's like a monster.
Yeah.
He bullies people and beats them up.
I mean, I
Yeah.
love the flip the script where it's
Oh
like,
yeah,
what are you, lip?
yeah, right, because of his cleft lip.
And he comes in as Hawk with the mohawk and he gets the tattoo later on.
And the best is too is like you'll hear it throughout times when they show the tattoo. You'll hear the hawk scream in
Yeah.
the background.
Yeah, I think Hawk is a great character. He's one of my
Yeah, I love
favorites,
Hawk.
definitely.
Yeah.
I don't even care that like he bullies kids. It's just entertaining to watch him.
Yeah, it's funny is when like, never mind. I was gonna say he's so skinny and he's like beating up all these kids. It's like, all right, come on. But should we talk about Dimitri? Because I know we're not fan favorites of Dimitri that much.
Well, you and me aren't, Colin, but we know
He's too whiny. I know that again. I know that's the
Yeah.
intent. I know they're going for that.
Yeah. Well, and as the show goes on, as he gets better as the show goes on. I guess he gets slightly less annoying, like so he's not as bad. But in the beginning, yeah, he was pretty bad. He was insufferable.
Yeah, especially when he joins Miyagi-Do, he really reaches that apex of annoying. He just
Yeah.
complains about every single thing they're doing. It's just like, dude, shut up.
Like I can't stand the whining. And the other thing too, besides the whining, which is again insufferable, but they almost have him as like not like the voice of reason, but like he's almost like calling out the logic of the universe. Like he's like why are we fighting karate? This is insane. Like that kind of character. And it's just no one needs that kind of character in the show.
Yeah,
Just accept the fact they're fighting karate. He's like, oh, this is insane. We're fighting karate. Oh, this
well, I
is
think
stupid.
another problem with that is, I guess we could maybe segue into another character, is that Daniel's wife is the voice of reason, because she's also that character where she points out, like, she says, like, in a sentence, oh, you guys have warring karate dojos, or you guys have this big grudge for all these years. You don't need another person to do it who is substantially worse and more annoying than
Because
the
she
main
says it
character.
as a matter of fact, like why you guys don't like it, like it's not no
Well,
like
like
dwelling on it.
yeah. Well, to like perfectly encapsulate, like it was the scene like where Johnny came over to Daniel's house and him and Daniel almost started fighting in like by the pool, and she's like, "Are you two grown men really about to fight right now?" And like then she invites Johnny in for breakfast. Like that works. Like you don't need Dimitri being the whiny kid. Like especially when like the teenagers have the ridiculous plot. Like you don't need him there to like try to be the voice of reasoning.
Freaking like this, like calling out the logic of the show. Like just go along for the ride, man. Just accept it.
You don't need to do that if everyone is playing it straight. If the
Yeah.
characters are treating it seriously, you don't need to do that. It's one thing if it's like
it's
really
that-
goofy, and then they're like, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't be doing this because of this and that." yeah, if you do it straight and everything, the characters treat it seriously. Don't have like a Dimitri character.
Plus, like again, like with like you talk about Daniel's Amanda, I think her name is.
Yeah.
She's also again like she's trying to be supportive too. She's not really being annoying. She's like, oh, let me help you. Let me try to help work this out.
Yeah, she means well.
Yeah, she's not again whining every 2 seconds.
Yeah, Well, that's the thing too. Is when Dimitri he like when he does that logic thing, it's almost like it can come across like almost like condescending, like he's trying to like rip into them a bit. Like when I will say that was when Kreese beat him up.
He like punched him in the face because he was whining too much.
Honestly, I agree with Kreese. Like he deserved it.
I think it was. I found myself rooting for Hawk to beat up Dimitri at the mall when they all ganged up on him.
Yeah.
Just like get like just bring him down a peg. Like he won't stop whining.
And like we said, we'll get to next week, but he does get a little better. But especially in seasons 1 and 2, he is. I would say objectively, he is the worst character because he's just annoying.
Yeah. I mean, we say like now like obviously watching in a series overview like Robbie and Sam like kind of take that cake. He initially was like you're saying, like he initially was like the worst.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I hated every scene with him. And like there's one thing I wanted to bring up where
of course.
I think it's gonna look like age the show pretty badly is when Daniel's trying to like train Dimitri and he's like using these like really cringy Game of Thrones references.
Oh no, yeah,
Like I've never seen Game of Thrones, so I don't even get the references, but I guess to show that, he's also a nerd, can relate to him. Just also gonna like date the show. Like no one's gonna remember Game of Thrones, especially how bad the ending was in like 10 years. So like these references are just gonna look bad.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know what specific references you make because I never watched Game of Thrones either. But it's just
But
like,
it's more the fact he was doing it that
yeah,
sticks
I know,
about
because
him
like you
more.
said, it dates it. It's yeah, like when this Jon Snow or whatever took down this mountain, and he's like, yeah,
So, you know Game of Thrones? I mean, it was a
yeah,
pretty popular
I'm
show.
down with GOT. I think he said almost verbatim.
Oh God, those are the things you try to forget. I mean, the show's good, but those are the things you try to forget.
Should we? Who else is there? I know there's Stingray and Kreese, but any other minor characters before we get to those two?
Well, I mean, like there was like that girl, Moon,
Oh no,
that
no.
was with
Oh, there's
Hawk.
Kyler, the bolt,
Oh,
the
Kyler
bully
He
Murray.
wasn't
a
in
little
season
bit.
two, right?
He was in a little bit, I think.
He was
He was in
mainly in
season one.
season
He was in
one,
season one.
and then he
Yeah.
came back. Yeah. He was he was
He's
the
just a
jock.
bully.
Yeah, he's like
Yeah,
a
Yeah.
he was
B
the
bro.
jock.
And
Even though he kind of looks substantially older than everyone at the high school at times.
That's why he's intimidating.
yeah, it's like the bullies from Nets Declassified. Just looks like they're almost in their 30s.
I mean, wouldn't you be intimidated if your bully was 30 years old and you're like 16?
I would. I would. I
Yeah,
guess
there
we
wasn't
can.
much to him. He was
Yeah.
just kind of like a stereotypical jock bully.
Should we get the sting right now? I guess.
Oh,
Yes.
we could do a whole episode on him.
Stingray is definitely the best character of season 2 because he's just a sad, poor excuse of a person, but he is amazing.
Like I don't know if people like took to him well. Like I don't really know how other people react to the show, but I don't because I only saw like one review and people didn't seem to take them. But I love Stingray. Like
Yeah, he
he is
is
just
awesome.
He's a man out of time too.
it was even fun in the 80s either.
Yeah, he's not out of time. He's just out of place.
Well, I also think too, like where he, like for background, he works at the I guess, a local Home Depot, and he runs into Johnny, and Johnny was wearing was it a Metallica shirt?
Some 80s band.
And
Has
he
to be
was
the
just
80s.
go, and he was just going off on how awesome the '80s were, but he would remind Johnny that he didn't live in the '80s.
He's like Brian Williams. Like I was there, like speaking as if he was.
But he is. I just love the fact there's like this 30-year-old man training in a dojo with children.
Yeah, he's a man
Yeah.
child, and the children are his only friends. Like Not like
and the best
not in
part,
a Hollywood pervert way, but like he thinks they're his actual friends. He treats them like that.
yeah, like, and the best part too is like they don't really even want him in the dojo, but he just won't leave.
He's like a
I mean,
nuisance.
he pays.
Yeah, that was the only reason they kept him because it was like, all right, you're paying. And then the best was,
The Coyote Creek.
Hawk.
Oh,
No, we talk about, well, before that, you can't mention his transformation where he flips the script,
oh yes, yes.
where he takes inspiration from Hawk, who, keep in mind, is a 17-year-old kid. Hawk did the mohawk. Now he wanted to pick another animal, so he had a beard and he braided it at the bottom and shaped it like a stingray. And then self called and then named himself Stingray. No one else called him that.
Like that's why I love it. It's so over the top. Like I don't know. I just love it.
Well, the best was definitely with Coyote Creek when they're on that
Oh,
little
oh yeah.
retreat, karate exercise, and you think at the end it's Miguel and Hawk, and they battle out, and Miguel is superior, but out of nowhere, this large man emerges from a pile of leaves and gets the little bandana around his head. He's like, the thing about stingrays, they always wait, or he said something dumb like that. And
Why
why?
wait?
And then, also too, you can't forget when he shows up to a high school party and brings like this woman with him,
Oh
and
God.
she's like, I thought we were going to your friend's house. He goes, these are my friends, and he shows up too. The best is he has two um leaders of like, I think it was like Malt or like Cult 45.
Yeah, some liquor in his
Um,
hand, like duct
yeah,
tape to his hand.
duct tape to his hands, both
Well,
his
yeah,
hands. So
both hands.
so when the cops show up, he can't even get out because he's trying to open the door with both the things.
And the best part too also is at the last episode he's trying to get like a security job at the high school.
He has to be closer to the kids.
Yeah, and the guy's like he's like reading through his resume. He has no professional experience at all. He's like, yeah, I won the Coyote Creek, which my nothing to brag about.
Yeah. Well, I know we were going to talk about the fight later, but his moment when the fight breaks out.
When he starts assaulting children.
Yeah, he literally him and the person that were talking about hiring him. They walk outside. The fight's breaking out. He literally beats up two kids in Miyagi-Do, high fives a kid in Cobra Kai, and just
He
leaves.
like
It's
slammed
like I got this.
Yeah, he slammed a kid's head into a locker.
My favorite is he just high fived a kid and walked out.
Like, we're running a little bit short on time, but we have enough time to talk about Kreese and I guess the last fight in the high school because I want to talk about that.
Well, Kreese is another goat character.
Yeah, Kreese is
I think
also like
I
Johnny.
think he is the GOAT.
Yeah, he's trapped in like the 70s, or in the 60s rather, where he thinks he's like he's still in Vietnam. He relates everything to Vietnam, like
And war.
yeah, and war. And it was Kreese too. As we find out, he's another loser. He's homeless. He lives at a homeless shelter, and it's like, at least for Kreese, at least for me, you want to feel bad for the guy. But then he's like running around plotting and turning children against each other.
Yeah, for his own karate war.
Yeah. Yeah. I think at first you kind of feel bad because, again, you're seeing Johnny's perspective. We're like, all right, this guy, he was a menace, but he was like a father figure to him. So like he tries to take him back and like shape him up, but like, and then it just quickly he just
Quickly
descends
regretted
into
it.
madness.
Yeah.
Yeah, like as the season 2 is progressing, Johnny's skeptical about reintroducing him into his karate classes, and then Kreese slowly and just like manipulates and takes over the the dojo.
Yeah.
He's also like a stingray. He waits.
Well, he's like a cobra. He waits to strike.
Yeah.
Because I feel like every scene with Kreese, it's gold. Because like he's always talking about war, how to relate it to like karate and life.
Yeah,
Like it's
I
so
think
over the top. Like it's done so straight. Like it's
I
so much. And the actor too. Like he really sells like his
yeah.
like the character's commitment to this karate war.
Yeah, like he definitely. I have to imagine that guy has like so much fun. Was it Martin Cove or Crove?
Yeah, Martin Cove.
Yeah, like he probably just has so much fun with the role because it's just so ridiculous.
I would too, honestly.
But like
He's
I'll
holding his
say
gi.
probably him and Thanos are probably your two most quotable villains of all time. Everything they say is just like it's so memorable.
You have a problem with that?
He's like always holding his gi, like his arms at the top of his gi, like he's just resting his arms there.
Or
He's
he or
always in
he's
his
like
gi too.
smoking a cigar wherever he goes.
He's homeless
Like,
but can afford cigars.
yeah, yeah, really. When he stack them up from his time in Vietnam. My cigars were brumating. But like the part where like he just again he doesn't take too long. He beats up Dimitri
Yeah,
back to his old
he
ways.
socks him in the face.
And the best is like Dimitri, instead of going to the cops, he tells his mom and nothing is done.
Yeah, what proof do you have?
Wait, I don't want to spoil anything, but doesn't Amanda hit Kreese, or is that season 3?
That's season 3.
Ah, forgive me.
Yeah,
No
forgive
worries.
me from before too.
Well, there's definitely a lot to say about Kreese as the series goes on, but since we're running a little bit short on time, the high school fight, which I looked online and it seems that a lot of people think it's well done. I don't think it's well done at all, and as I alluded to before, I think the fighting, at least in season 1 and 2, is kind of lame. I think
I
it's
think it's,
you go.
I think it's more well done just from like a more story perspective, not really the
Oh yeah, you understand
choreography.
why they're fighting. I'm just talking about
Yeah, yeah.
like how it looks and stuff. I think it's very lame and underwhelming. It's clear that none of them really know how to do karate, because like when they try to do these kicks, their legs can barely go up, and you hear like this punch sound effect.
Plus, like I know we're not like choreography experts, but, like if you see enough movies, you can kind of like see things where like when like they have like certain shots, like they'll kick, but clearly they're like a couple inches away, but the way the camera's behind them, so you don't see it.
Yeah, I mean,
So you can definitely see those tricks that they use to try to like hide some of the choreography.
we may not be choreography experts, but we all did karate.
That's true.
It may have been 15 years ago. We all done karate.
Yeah.
So speak for yourself. But
Well,
yeah,
I'm speaking for myself.
I don't know. Like I said, they have that sound effect where it's like a huge impact sound, but it just looks like the kick just brushes them.
Yeah.
And I still can't get over the way it's story. Like Tori takes the school's announcement microphone. It's like you're dead, Samantha LaRusso. You're dead. You
Yeah,
know what you did.
and she carries around a bracelet that she uses as like brass knuckles. What's wrong
Yeah,
with you?
she tried to like she tried to
Try to
cut
kill
her.
her.
Yeah, in the middle of the school.
And real quick,
Oh, oh,
since we're running a little bit out of time, I guess we never mentioned that how season 2 ends, where
Oh, with
yeah,
Miguel and
Miguel
Robbie.
shows mercy on Robbie because he's just beating him up, and then Robbie takes advantage of that and kicks him off the school's balcony, and he breaks his back on on like a what's it called, on the stairs,
A
like the
railing, a
railing of the
railing.
yeah.
stairs,
Yeah.
and it's like, boy, did that escalate quickly.
It's like he even needs like you could have just like punched him or kicked him in the chest. Like he really tried to like launch him.
Yeah, he really put all his force behind that kick. Ah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it like that was another thing with like
Robbie got
Robbie. I was
his.
like, what?
I would say Robbie got his revenge from losing that tournament.
Yeah. Let me paralyze this man.
Or well, also too, like when what was it? Well, Miguel also kissed Sam.
Well, she kissed him. She started it.
Yeah, but uh, she mistakenly kisses you, so I'm gonna paralyze you.
Seems fair.
Any final thoughts, boys?
If you haven't watched it yet, watch it. You won't regret it.
Again, I was one of those people who was against it mainly not for the show, but like again the premise of a Karate Kid reboot, a YouTube Red show. It is worth it. It is actually good,
And it gets better
despite all
too.
those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does
Yeah,
get better.
So
yeah.
I think that's all the time we have today, boys. But we'll definitely next week we'll talk about seasons 3 and 4. Yeah, that's the end of the episode. Want to say goodbye?
I've been Craig.
That could be Daniel.
And I'm disappointed. We'll be back next week.